Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Arshel Branch, and today, you guys, we are going to be talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Now, before we go ahead and get started, I want you guys to take the time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so that way you never miss an episode, and don't be afraid to get into the comment sections. I love the conversation, and if you guys can help this channel get up to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this month, I will be going live once a week. So that way we can have this conversation live together about whatever the topics that we're going to be talking about on this show. Now, again, you guys, today we are going to be talking about Tulsi Gabbard endorsing President Trump. But not only that, we are also going to talk about Kamala Harris actually changing the rules for the debate, or whether or not there's actually going to be a debate, because we already know, well, I'm hoping that President Trump doesn't change the rules. So before we start talking about the debate circumstances, let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard. So I'm going to be playing a part of her endorsement speech. She did post the video to her YouTube channel about her actually endorsing President Trump. Now, for her, her biggest thing, which is her number one issue, which I think is true for a lot of the America First conservatives. I think this is also true for, commentators like Candace Owens. It's a big thing for myself as well, not wanting to have President Trump advocate for us to go to war. Obviously, we are at war. We're not, but we are seeing conflicts brewing up for the United States to get involved in multiple areas. We're talking about Europe when you look at Russia versus Ukraine. We're talking about Israel versus the Palestinians, particularly as it relates to Hamas and the terrorist organization, and whether or not what Israel is doing over there is actually just, if it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run the clip of Tulsi Gabbard in her endorsement speech, because there's a particular part of it that really just kind of explains her position. So I'm going to let her explain her position rather than me just justify it. So let's go ahead and let's play it.
So I mean what I say when I share with you that I know that President Trump understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives. Whether you're a soldier, you're an airman, a Marine, sailor, or a coastie, he keeps us in his heart in the decisions that he makes. We saw this through his first term in the presidency, when he not only didn't start any new wars, he took action to de-escalate and prevent wars.
It's a very big
He
deal.
exercised the courage that we expect from our commander-in-chief in exhausting all measures of diplomacy, having the courage to meet with adversaries, dictators, allies, and partners alike in the pursuit of peace.
Okay, so before I let her go on further, let's talk about his first term. He was saying, the leftist media came out and they were talking about how, oh, he's sitting down with dictators. He sat down with Rocket Man. Obviously, we're talking about the leader of North Korea, saying, oh, he wants to do business with Russia. This makes him, a Russian puppet, because obviously he wanted to make sure that we didn't have confrontation with Russia, because who does? Right. I mean, come on. This is our history. We obviously know about the Cold War, Ronald Reagan and the Soviet Union, negotiating a deal with Gorbachev so that way we can bring down the Iron Curtain, which was problematic in and of itself. De-escalating confrontations with Russia is in the best interest of not just the United States, but of the world. We're talking about two superpowers, right? They're called superpowers because they're nuclear, okay? Our country's nuclear ready, Russia's nuclear ready, and at any moment we could just make that decision to risk life on the planet because of whatever our agenda is. Now, if you're anyone like myself, if you're anything like me, then you kind of have an understanding that it is a big part of the banks to ensure that we find ourselves at war. Some of these wars that we find ourselves in, when you look historically, have a big part to play in pushing the global central powers of the central bankers. It's a big part of how they get control over some of these nations by crippling their nations through war, putting them into debt, our nation included, because, understand, we're at $35 trillion and we're indebted to the central bankers, and war plays a huge part of that. Understand, Britain literally paid off World War I in 2015. So war is incredibly costly. You do have to take out a tremendous amount of debt just to be able to defend your position, whether it's morally correct or just about solidifying your power. It costs a nation a lot of money. I do believe that the bankers, central bankers particularly, and it's not to say that all bankers are problematic, that every financial individual is a problem person. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that we do have to be cautious as to whether or not we're going to get involved in a confrontation that's going to cost not just money, but obviously human life. And this is a very big deal for me. When you look at President Trump's first term, the fact that he didn't start any new wars, this is a problem for central bankers, because if you're not going to war with countries that are weaker than us, militarily speaking, economically speaking, not where they need to be, then you have the opportunity of taking control over that nation's natural resources just because you put boots on the ground, because you forced them in debt and they offered collateral, which could be their mineral rights, and you can take control over their assets. I mean, you don't actually have to buy the property to own it when you're talking about just crippling them and taking their collateral. Like, that's something that we have to consider. And Trump didn't start any new wars. He was willing to negotiate with some of our adversaries, especially the superpowers like Russia. It's better for us to get along. We're one of the big people in the sandbox here. It's us, and then there's Russia, and then you have all these other little kids here. If we're not fighting, then we don't have to create all this problem. Understand, war doesn't really ever touch us, okay? We don't actually see the confrontation here on American soil. We're going to see it in some of these other smaller countries. When we were fighting the Russians back in the Cold War, understand some of that confrontation took place in the Middle East, Afghanistan being one of these countries in which we fought in. And then on top of that, you're not just fighting Russia because they are part of BRICS. It's like their version of NATO. So if we were to have that confrontation to protect Ukraine, guess what? You're fighting Russia, you're fighting China, you're fighting all of these other countries, which there are reports coming out that there are an additional 20 nations that are a part of BRICS, and that also includes some of the African countries as well. So we would not just be fighting Russia, and most likely the confrontations would be taking place in some of these other areas, in these other countries where innocent people are going to die. And then you have to think about nuclear annihilation as well. So there's a lot of factors that play a role in this. The fact that he didn't start any new wars, the fact that he was able to negotiate treaties and peace between us and some of the other superpowers is a very big deal, right? I mean, we were able to make deals with China. This was able to work in our favor. We were able to get money from China, which brought down some of the debt. We were able to have peace for that time in his first term. And that's a very big deal. Now, not to say that Tulsi didn't take issue with some of the tariff ideas that he put on to China. Obviously, she said that this was a problem, that this could be inching us to confrontation with China because of the tariffs. But then China found other outlets. Well, if I can't do business with you because of these tariffs, I'll just do business with Russia. Hence the relationship between Russia and China. We want to put tariffs on Russia, and then they're just going to have relationships with other countries that don't want to do business with us. And obviously, this is where BRICS is coming from. It's just this. We have to be very creative and cautious as to what steps we take when we're talking about going into either economic confrontations with these nations, like tariffs, for example, or if it is going to be boots on the ground and boot to ass, which is going to cost American soldiers. And this is a big deal. So not only are we talking about money here, but we're also talking about American life. And she understands it. I'm letting her go ahead and finish what she has to say.
Seeing war as a last resort. The truth is, as we head towards our decision as a country in November, the same cannot be said about Kamala Harris.
Not at all.
In fact, the opposite is true. And we're living through this reality today as this administration has us facing multiple wars on multiple fronts and regions around the world.
As I mentioned.
And closer to the brink of nuclear war than we ever have been before. This is one of the main reasons why I'm committed to doing all that I can to send President Trump back to the White House, where he can once again serve us as our commander-in-chief.
There's our endorsement, folks. There's our endorsement.
Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war.
Exactly.
We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace.
Peace.
And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president. President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target, added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about what kind of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president.
I'm going to leave it there, you guys, because I think she pretty much said everything that needed to be said, at least for this episode particularly. So, a few things there. The weaponization of our institutions. Here's the irony about Kamala Harris and Black Americans, specifically Black Americans, for generations, for decades now. Okay, I'm talking Gen Xers and Boomers, especially the ones in my family, and I think my family is a microcosm here, that they've been saying that you can't trust the institutions, you can't trust the criminal justice system, you can't trust the government. It doesn't matter who you vote for, you're just going to get the same thing. So I hear this a lot from Gen Xers, from Boomers, it's all the same. That's what they tell me, right? Doesn't matter who you vote for. Okay, well, if you don't, it doesn't matter who you vote for, then maybe you don't vote for Kamala Harris. And then I'll just go out there and vote for President Trump because I think it does matter. And so because I think it matters, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. If you don't think it matters, then you don't vote for Kamala Harris. If it doesn't matter, then you don't vote. I'm going to vote because I think it matters. And there you have that. But the irony here is that you'll have Black Americans of generations from the boomers even up to the Gen Zers because they've been brainwashed into thinking that they are victims of isms when you're by far the most blessed, privileged generation to ever walk the face of the earth. My generation included, right? Millennials, Gen Zers, we've never really understood struggle. We don't really understand what liberty is, privacy. We don't really know what these things are. We were just raised to think that we have these privileges. And, they'll say, oh, it's not privilege. I'm not talking about actual privilege. I'm talking about being blessed. There were just certain things that we've had that other generations didn't have. We agree that when you say that you can't trust the criminal justice system, we agree when we say that you cannot trust the government, that you cannot trust the institutions, we come out as conservatives and say, yeah, I agree with you because look at what they're doing to President Trump. Look at what they're doing to Tulsi Gabbard. Look at what they did to RFK Jr., trying to deny him Secret Service. It took President Trump to get shot before they actually gave this man the Secret Service protection that he needed, understanding that he is a family member of presidents and political officials who were assassinated. So the fact that you were denying him at all, I mean, this is ridiculous. We agree when we say that we can't trust these institutions, but because they're targeting people like Tulsi Gabbard, because they're targeting people like President Trump, all of a sudden we can trust these institutions. This is ridiculous. This weaponization of power goes even before Kamala was in the White House. When she was the Attorney General of California, she sicked the DOJ on a pro-life reporter who was reporting the fact that you had Planned Parenthood workers selling the body parts of the aborted babies. He got that information. He was reporting that. They went to Kamala Harris at the time as the Attorney General, and she sicked the DOJ on him. His lawyer then comes out and says, no, this was purely political. It was because he's pro-life. It was because he was reporting on the story that she sicked the DOJ on him and had his home raided for that information. Now, luckily, the people were able to still get that information and understand what was actually happening. And there was more to the story because now it's going beyond the fact of just Planned Parenthood, but the collusion between this evil institution, this evil company like Planned Parenthood, and the state government. And now the same behavior is now happening with the White House. It's happening with this administration. Obviously, we're seeing a lot more information coming out about them going after people that they just do not agree with. Now, prior to Tulsi's endorsement, you had RFK's endorsement, right? And his big thing is big pharma, right? And frankly, I think that because we have people of different political views, we're not just talking about Republicans anymore. We're talking about independents. For Tulsi Gabbard, it's about stopping meaningless wars. If it's got nothing to do with the security of this nation, if it's got nothing to do with the prosperity and the freedom and the liberties of this nation, I don't want to be involved. And this administration has got us wrapped up in possibly two of them. Russia did not invade Ukraine under President Trump. Understand, okay? And Trump made this very clear in the debate when he was debating Joe Biden at the time, this previous debate that they had just done. Russia was able to take property under every other administration from Bush and Obama to now Biden. But while he was in office, they didn't move a damn inch. So what are we saying here? Like, I'm the warmonger. That's what they kept saying, that he was going to be the warmonger. He was going to get us into wars. He's going to push us into nuclear annihilation. And in fact, you got the furthest from it. When Joe Biden was running for office and he unleashed his agenda to the world, all these fancy words, the Paris Climate Change Accords, that this somehow was going to be a good thing. No, what I'm seeing in this agenda is that your gas prices are going to go up, your grocery prices are going to go up, and you're going to have potential war because energy is a reason for a battle. It's a reason. It is a reason. By saying that you are going to stop the energy production here in the United States and that you're going to go to other countries and take their energy, that's a reason for conflict, okay? Energy, money, these are necessary in our society. Therefore, reasons to war, okay? There are reasons for conflict. And we can just eliminate that if our nation is prosperous, if we just do our own energy thing. And Joe Biden didn't want to do that. Then within the first year of his term, what happens? The Afghanistan withdrawal, which was a debacle, which cost us the lives of 13 soldiers, which she actually speaks about at the beginning of her endorsement speech. Cost us the lives of 13 soldiers. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely asinine. And then we're talking about having to, oh, we should go to war with Russia to protect Ukraine. Ukraine is not beating Russia. It's not happening. Okay. This isn't, oh, we're fighting the superpower like the colonies with the British. No. First of all, this is not our country. This is not our land. The land of the free, home of the brave. We talk about the United States when we take our Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I'm not waving Ukrainian flags. I'm sorry for the loss of life because all life is precious, but this is not our war. I want to play Switzerland here. Now, Kamala Harris, at her DNC speech, she said that she wants to ensure that Israel has the right to protect themselves, but she also thinks that what's happening in Gaza is problematic. So again, we have no real clear position. She's playing both sides here. No real clear position on what she actually thinks. AOC said she wants to defend the Palestinians. This was her sum up, pretty much. In her DNC speech was only for about 7 minutes, but she made it clear that she wants to defend the Palestinians, where we all know that there's a big support in America for protecting Israel. My position has always been the same. I've been quite consistent on this. I do not want to be involved in any of these wars. If Israel wants to war with Iran, that is their business. Okay? If Ukraine wants to continue this confrontation with Russia, first of all, you're going to lose, okay? They are a nuclear power. That would be like if Canada decided to fight the United States. I don't really think you should try to do that. I think you'd lose, and I think you'd lose. Okay, you're not winning without the allies. Israel knows that they cannot win. Well, they can because they're bigger than the Palestinians, your own nation, right? It's like, I don't want to be involved in any of these damn wars. Tulsi gets that. Okay, I've been a fan of Tulsi Gabbard since the moment I saw her on the debate stage against Kamala Harris, which takes us to the debate here with Kamala and President Trump. So obviously, we know prior to this endorsement, she was already hired to prep President Trump for the debate. Now Kamala Harris wants to change the rules of said debate. Mind you, these are the same rules that Joe Biden had to meet for this last debate that Trump and Biden did. So we're talking this recent debate. These are the rules. Tell me how a man who is 20 years older than you, Kamala, who is suffering from what appears to be dementia, Kamala, and you can't meet the same demands that this man with dementia who's 20 years older than you can meet because you can't answer any of the damn questions. You already turned down the Fox News debate because you don't want them to hold you accountable for being the border czar, which we know you are, which you still are because you're still the damn vice president. And now you want to change the rules because you don't want them asking you any tough questions. Like, what is your position when it comes to fighting Putin? Or are you wanting to fight him at all? Because I would prefer the Switzerland stance. I'm not getting involved. I'm just not in this, okay? I'm neutral here. What is your position when it comes to Israel versus the Palestinians? I'm neutral on this. Let them war. We will pray for the innocent. But we're not getting involved. That's playing neutral. You could say that. Her economic plan has obviously, we've all, come after her on that one. Even the leftist media outlets were saying, okay, when you're being accused of being a communist, maybe don't say price controls, because that's exactly what you're getting. It is communist ideology all the way. Kamala Harris in power means you're going to have the institutions go after political adversaries. What it means is that you're going to find us fighting two fronts, losing unbelievably amount of lives when it comes to our soldiers, spending I don't know how much more money when we're already $35 trillion in debt, only encouraging the central bankers to increase their power and leverage over the American people and God knows wherever else in the world. Kamala Harris in power gives them the ability to strengthen their control, not just over the American people, but over all of the Western civilization. And God only knows how many other countries. And again, it's not just war with Russia anymore here. We're not just talking about fighting Russia. We're talking about fighting Russia, China, North Korea. Okay. They want us to go to war with Iran because Israel's been aching for this confrontation for years. And they want the United States to be a part in that. And we just don't want to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have any concerns about what that means for President Trump and his VP pick, JD Vance, right? I will fight Iran. He's talking about going to war with Iran. No, we don't want war. We don't want war. This is what made President Trump so popular during his first term. Okay, we don't want these wars. And Tulsi Gabbard being a part of the team, being a part of helping President Trump prepare for really a verbal smackdown against Kamala Harris and the leftist media, because it wouldn't just be him debating her anymore. You'd be debating whoever the moderator is. You'd have to be able to stand up against that. And Tulsi's going to be prepared. Well, she's preparing him for that confrontation. So I'm interested to see what this debate's going to look like, simply because he hired Tulsi Gabbard. I've been a fan of hers since she slaughtered Kamala Harris on that debate stage. And she's absolutely right when she says he cares about not pushing us further into wars that have absolutely nothing to do with the betterment and the prosperity and the peace of this nation. This doesn't mean that I do not value all life everywhere in the world. Life is precious, wherever they are. You know, wars happen. But if America goes to war, it better be for morality purposes, and it better be for the peace and prosperity of this nation alone. I don't want to go to war because NATO says we should. Sorry, you're just not going to convince me that they have our best interests at heart. If NATO wants to war with Russia, we cannot be a part of that. I need Russia to know the United States has absolutely nothing to do with that. If Israel wants to go to war with Iran because of Hamas, then the Palestinians need to know that the United States are not going to be involved in any position. We're not fighting for a free Palestinian state any more than we're fighting to help Israel. I would like for there to be peace, but that's not the world that we live in. But I don't have to play a role in it either, right? Listen, I don't support violence, but why I would ride into hell with a water pistol for my family. It's like, word, I don't like violence, but I'll kick your ass if you come for my family. It's like, word, I'm the nicest person you will ever meet. I'm quite decent. I'm kind. I'm respectable, even when I disagree with you, right? But if you come for my family hard, I'm kicking the living daylights out of you, okay? I ride into hell with a water pistol for my family. I don't like the violence, but listen, I'm neutral till I shoot you. Understand that, okay? That's how I feel. And if it's got nothing to do with me and mine, with my country, with my fellow Americans, with our soldiers' lives, then I don't want to be a part of these wars. Tulsi gets that. Kamala obviously does not. Trump is a part of that, being someone who actually wants to protect the American people. Peace through strength is what we got, okay? When we took out Soleimani and the Palestinians decided to attack an empty building, when they attacked a drone, they attacked an empty building, no American lives were actually lost. They were afraid that Trump was going to go to war because they attacked an empty building. Oh, we're afraid they're going to go to war because somebody attacked a drone. I'm not going to war over a drone. It cost us a lot of money, but it's a drone, not life. You kill one of my American people, I'm coming for your life. And that's exactly what happened with Soleimani. It's what happened with al-Baghdadi. Like, we take out bad guys, and only the bad guys. When we took out Soleimani, he didn't kill hundreds of people to kick out the one bad guy, the way you see Israel doing. I'm sorry. Hard to defend you when I'm seeing you slaughter innocent children and people and women. Okay? Our soldiers are willing to lay down their lives for the American people. And if they're willing to do that, then at the very least, we should honor their lives and not send them into war for something that has absolutely nothing to do with the security of our people here. They're ready to lay down their lives. And Tulsi Gabbard, as Lieutenant Colonel, she's also she's an incredible woman. I just such in awe of her. The differences between Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala's VP pick, Tim Walz. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? She actually went to war where he abandoned his men before battle. I mean, the woman is like a real life Amazon, right? I mean, she like real life Wonder Woman here. I mean, she's a soldier. She actually went to war. She's well spoken, and she's like an ambassador for the independence to President Trump at this point, where she can get across her views. And it might be a debate. I'm actually okay with that. She'll have her opinions. He has her opinions, but we can actually find some common ground here where it's about protecting American lives and not risking soldiers for nothing, because they're willing to drop everything, leave their families, and risk their lives for our safety. And if they're going to do that, then we should honor their sacrifice and not just have them going into war for absolutely nothing. Certainly not for money. Certainly not for energy, when we can get all of that here. We can be prosperous. We can be energy dominant without raping other nations of their mineral rights. We can do all of those things. We don't have to find ourselves at war with Russia when we can have a peace with them. You know, it would be best for the world if all the nuclear superpowers got along. Why would it be best for the world? Because if we just decided to drop nukes everywhere, there'd be no human race. I appreciate this woman's sacrifice, and I appreciate everything that she's doing for America first, because really it doesn't matter if you are a Republican, Democrat, or an independent. Clearly, because the independents are coming to the side of America first. And I do think that with Tulsi on Trump's side, that not only is he going to kick her butt in this debate, even if he is just debating her on ABC and maybe MSNBC if we actually get more than one debate, but also because he understands the cost here. If Tulsi Gabbard is endorsing you, it's because she knows and she believes that you are not going to push us closer to fighting wars that have absolutely nothing to do with the security of our nation. So even if J.D. Vance says that he's willing to go to war with Iran to protect Israel, understand, you're not the only soldier who has his ear. Tulsi is a huge part of that as well. And this is why I'm a huge proponent about her being a part of his cabinet. This is why I'm a huge supporter of hers, because she gets it. Okay. The woman values life and land. She values peace because she understands the cost when we have these confrontations. So thank you all for watching. If you agree, disagree, go ahead and get into the comment sections. What are your thoughts about Kamala Harris changing the rules of the debate, as well as Tulsi Gabbard prepping Trump for those debates if there's more than one? And what do you think about Tulsi being yet another independent who is willing to endorse President Trump, just like RFK? Everybody's got their reasons for why they're backing this man, and it's quite fascinating to see the coalition of people coming together to support this guy here is pretty incredible. Now, of course, you know, we're Christians. If you're a Christian watching this, obviously, you know, our Lord Savior is Jesus Christ. And we got a lot of work to do, you know, so we just want to make sure that we put the right players in place here. I think Trump is a keynote to how we're going to get that done. And Tulsi, I do think, is a part of the plan as well. So you guys let me know, get into the comment sections. Again, you can like this video, share this video so that we can start increasing the subscriptions on this. If we can get the subscribers up to 1,000 by the end of August, then I will go live once every week so that we can have this conversation live. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow me on Instagram at Archie Financial. You can follow me on Twitter at Archie_finance. Thank you all again for watching. God bless. Good night. Kevlar.